Yeah, I think this. I think it's something is.
Okay,
Something
we are
is
on.
nice. We are on. Welcome to the Bedminster Township Committee regular meeting, August 19, 2019. It is 7:05, and I will recognize that we have a full complement of the Township Committee tonight. Ms. Sullivan, may we please have the Open Public Meetings Act
Yes, Mr.
statement?
Mayor, adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville and to the Burnettsville News in Whippany, also to all subscribers, and then posted here at the Municipal Building as of January 7th, 2019.
Great, thank you. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we've got a relatively short agenda, so let's we'll try to keep everything in pace for the last meeting in August. Has everyone had the opportunity to review the minutes? And if there are any comments that have not otherwise been provided to Ms. Sullivan, please provide them.
There are some minor amendment, you'll see it in front of you highlighted in yellow.
Got it. And the comments that I made were my poor recollection, so that has been addressed. So without any other comments, may we have a motion to approve both minutes for the regular Township Committee meeting and the executive closed session meeting?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I abstain.
You're staying, Mr. Stevenson.
Permits and raffles, we have two for tonight. First, social affair permit for New Jersey State Bar Association held at P-PAC Gladstone Bank on November 21, 2019 from 6 to 8 p.m. The second is social affair permit for Villanova University held at P-PAC Gladstone Bank on September 26, 2019 from 6:30 to 9 p.m. Any questions or comments regarding those permits and raffles?
There's also a raffle license.
What?
I'm sorry, you have an update
Oh,
on one.
yeah, okay, that came in on the second. There's a third one.
Yes.
Raffle license for Safe and Sound Somerset, Inc., held at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club on November 1, 2019, from 6:30 to 11 p.m. So now with that, any questions or comments regarding permits and raffles? If not, may we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve the raffles.
Second? Again, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Public comments, twice each night on meeting nights. That microphone is open for public comments.
Good evening, Brian Haggerty, Fairview Drive, Bedminster. Just for the record, about what I'm going to say is 5C, the raffle license for Safe and Sound, was on the public agenda, so that was fine. There was a third one, I knew that. And I want to, on that theme, thank Ms. Sullivan. We've had reason to see public records over the past few weeks, and her cooperation and the way she used the staff has just been fantastic. I think it's a great compliment to open government, to the way Bedminster does things, and just wanted to say that. Also, the Environmental Commission, Farmers Market, I'm just stuck on it now, I can't not go, and Bad Night was wonderful. Thank you very much for what you're doing.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments? Jake has not indicated that he's willing to make any public comments. We will move to monthly report discussions, and we'll start with Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. My update is that I had a very nice vacation. It's good to be back, but I can tell you that from the last time I've been here, I did have a historic preservation meeting back in July, so a little bit dated, and I apologize that there was no meeting in August. The July meeting went fairly well. Primrose School, it's looking to set up shop out on Burnt Mills Road. There's an issue with their elevation, so they've been asked to go ahead and change around their drawings. They've already resubmitted, and appears to have had a favorable pushback from some of the, or not pushback, but comments from back from the other members, and some other applications went through. The Exxon station on the corner of Burnt Mills and 206 there is going to get a little bit of a changing of their lights. Exxon is doing a rebranding, so you're going to see some new lights out there. I did mention some of the comments that we get from time to time from some of the residents about the condition of that property, but unfortunately the gentleman that was there was just simply in charge of the lights, so we couldn't really get any feedback to the owner about some of the comments that have come in about the property. But everything seems to be going very well with that committee. They're working very well together, some good thinkers on that committee, so I think you should all rest assured that they're doing the right thing. Did speak with John Manns about the Pluckerman Schoolhouse Park, and I apologize if he hit this last time, but he basically said that they're moving around a little bit of the elevations at the courts, and that in 2 months or so he thinks that that's a good estimated time frame for completion of those improvements. So we're looking forward to that. Some folks on social media had been reaching out asking about our basketball facilities and really lack thereof. So just sort of touch base with them, let them know that we have our eye on that and that we're addressing it, but there were some erosion issues, some drainage issues that we didn't anticipate. So it's taking a little bit longer, but in the end of the day, it's going to be done right. And that's other than speaking in an exec session about some other things that we have going on. That's all my updates.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hickey.
Mayor, thank you. Good evening, all. I'll start with rec, and might as well start with summer camp since we're winding that down. Bedminster Summer Camps had 991 registrations with 46 programs this year. That's 40 kids more than last year. Camp Bedminster, which is our flagship program, registrations are up 12% over 2018. That's a phenomenal job by Robin Ray and her team, and we thank her for all her good work. Since we're moving out of summer into fall, just want to mention a couple of fall programs. Our Couch Potato Recovery Program, which is available for all ages, will kick off on Wednesday, September 25th at 7 p.m. in the main meeting room. We're going to have a laser tag tournament play for grades 6, 7, and 8. That will begin at Mill Lane Park after school beginning on September 24th. Frozen, there's a bus trip to Broadway on Sunday, November 3rd, and basketball kicks off on Monday, November 4th. It's coming.
Here we go.
Coach Doug is ready.
Here we go.
Are you coaching?
Yes.
All right.
I will,
Wow.
if Robin accepts me.
I don't know. I'll have to take a look at that application just to make sure.
Coach Doug.
Also want to mention our park bench donation program, bench number 23 in memory of Sibylla Bunny Cardone, was installed 2 weeks ago on the hike and bike trail between Bedminster School and Miller Lane Park. Board of Health, our meeting has been tentatively rescheduled to August 29th. Mental Commission, Renee, do you want me to talk about Lamington, the Lamington River project?
Okay.
Speak to that now. So Flint Hill Preserve has begun the restoration project. They've completed about 7,000 feet and will return on September 5th to complete the work, which will take about an additional week. We have received some comments regarding the conditions of the river. Folks may have noticed some temporary muddying of the waters, but short-term effects should be outweighed by the long-term environmental benefits. I asked the township engineer to do an on-site inspection to make sure everything's proceeding according to plan. I know they were out there today. I will provide an update at our next meeting. DW item, we've had good collaboration between Committeeman Stevenson, myself, Ms. Sullivan, and John Mance over the direct install program, which has now been completed in the municipal building. If you look in this room right here, many of these lights have been relamped from old-style fluorescent lights to LEDs. There's a couple that remain to be done. If you look on the right side of the room, those are new LEDs. If you look on the left side of the room, there's some old fluorescents that look a little tired and dingy. So those will be completed as well. We've done the same throughout the remainder of the municipal building. It's a significant cost savings long-term, and we expect it to pay off within the next 6 to 7 months. We're now reviewing the options in the business case for both the police and DPW buildings, and we'll report back soon. And I also want to mention, finally, Somerset Hills BOE. There was a mayor's meeting with the superintendent, which I attended on behalf of Mayor Jacobs, who was away on a well-deserved vacation.
No, actually, that was work.
Oh,
That was work, yeah, that was way before that.
that was okay. I get my days confused.
Yeah, working all the time.
He works all the time. Anyway, we discussed among other things, how to bring out some of the intangible qualities of the school district beyond just the test scores. Obviously, phenomenal test scores in the district, as well as from a ranking perspective at both the state and national level, but it's not just test scores that you assess a school district by. So we're trying to think about some of the softer qualities of the district, how to bring those out in social media and other places. And the other thing, we also briefly touched on the planned reconstruction of the bridge between Far Hills and Bedminster, because that's going to impact school bus routes and our first responders. So a little discussion around that. And that was pretty much it. Thank you, Mayor. Yes.
What was the attendance at the mayor's meeting? I mean, as Mr. Haggerty noted, it was at the last meeting.
Yes.
That was not unexpected to get such short notice from Somerset Hills School District about scheduling the meeting. So I'm just curious whether that sentiment was also identified by the other reps who were in attendance.
I think they may have been surprised as well. We did have all the mayors present, but yes, it was on very short notice.
Okay.
Yeah, but everybody was there.
Okay, good. Santucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're continuing to work on Bedminster Charities Fall Fest, October 26th. There is now, I believe, a 5K, Judy? Did we
Yeah,
accept?
so the summer series has been going every Saturday. There's a group of 5K runners who leave from the River Road Dog Park area and go out on the hike and bike trail up to the school and back. They do it pretty much every Saturday during the summer. Due to rain, they canceled one event, and in order to get enough races in, their last date happens to be the same day as Fall Fest. So they were told, hey, the park is closed that day for another event, so they came and asked the Fall Fest committee could they still have their 5K in the morning and use Fall Fest as a promotional item to, hey, come do the 5K and then stay, because the farmer's market will be there early in the morning, and then Fall Fest will commence shortly thereafter. So
That's great.
and they will manage the whole thing themselves. It's not one more thing for our committee to consider.
Right.
They're already doing it.
And we can cross-mark it, and we
Right.
can make sure that's why I'm mentioning it
So
here
we'll share it
today.
on our website, they'll share it on their website.
And we'll share, with AT&T. AT&T will
Right.
be helping us, again, to market everything. So that's one thing. And then we can talk later on about the solicitation ordinance
Okay.
that we've been working on.
Right.
And that's all, that's my update.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Moretti.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things from our environmental committee meeting. First thing I want to mention is about the turtle tunnels. Brian Zarate, who's from the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife, the Endangered and Non-Game Species Program, has reached out to the Environmental Commission to meet with the ED and the TC to talk about what's going on or what are next steps. They've, the tunnels are all up. They've been looking at what's, who's been using them, but they want to see what to do going forward. So they're going to reach out and perhaps sometime in January and February meet with all of us. The spotted lanternfly, I don't know if anybody's heard that, but they had found it in Berks County, Pennsylvania, and it has now crossed into New Jersey. It doesn't pose any threat to humans, but it does significant damage to our agriculture and forested environments. So they're going to be doing some quarantines. If it calls for that, they're going to be doing some surveys. Let's see, the Department of and USDA field crew are out conducting surveys. So if anybody sees a lanternfly, let us know. And as Mr. Haggerty mentioned, also the Bat Night at August 16th at River Road Park was a rousing success, I think. Conserve wildlife biologist Ethan Gillard was the one doing the bat program this time, and he had a really nice talk. It was a little bit different from the one we had from Stephanie, so we learned some new things, talking about diversity and their adaptations from the bats, their habitat and the damage that's being caused, and of course talking about dispelling some myths like they get in your hair and they don't cause rabies. So it was kind of fun. He brought an acoustic detector that let us hear some of the bats that were overhead, and we could see some of them around dusk. So everybody seemed to have a good time. Then lastly, plastic bags. I had attended a meeting by ANDRAC on July 23rd in Lambertsville. I have some information from that program if anybody wants to take a look, but that's been forwarded on to EC so they can start to take some steps, review what the programs are out there, see what kinds of things Bedminster might need or be interested in doing, whether it's educational programs, any kind of, pickup trash or whatever. but there are lots of things that we can get involved with. So they're going to start, and I'm sure as we go through the year, I'll have some more news going forward with that. Jacobus Vanderveer, we haven't had anything going on through the summer. And then Farmers Market was an amazing day, another hot one, but was well attended. And we had all our regulars there. I don't know if you got there because I leave around 9 o'clock. Did you make it to the market?
Yep.
So I will let you give your tape, so I'm all set.
Okay,
Well done.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So what I'd like to do to start off on my subcommittee reports is actually read a letter that we received and I think was distributed to everyone. So it's a letter dated August 18, 2019. Dear members of the Township Committee of Bedminster Township, this letter is a note of appreciation and gratitude for the staff of Bedminster Township. As you may know, I've spent the last 2 years developing a piece of property on Route 206. This has been a necessary step for launching a small business and working towards our goal of putting down roots in the community. Along the way, we've faced challenges, mainly from state-imposed requirements. What I have noticed and appreciated about the staff is a consistent willingness to help. Numerous conversations with Paul Ferraro, Judy Sullivan, Jeffrey Price, Kenneth Rogers, and Joe Haggerty, just to name a few, have clarified my understanding of addressable items and streamlined the process as much as possible. In short, they know what they're doing, and they have improved the efficiency of the process. As our development project nears its end, my view is that it's important to acknowledge the supportive role played by the town. Without this support, I firmly believe this project would have taken longer and incurred higher costs. And for that reason, at least one family in Bedminster is grateful for their help. Once again, thanks for everything. Sincerely, John Coates, managing partner of Burnt Mills Cider, LLC. So for those who don't know, John Coates is a Bedminster resident, and he is launching the cidery up on Route 206. That's across from Church of the Hills. Beautiful red barn that's looks like, I presume, nearly finished and made ready for operation. And we can't wait to have a hard cidery located right here in Bedminster, and eventually at the farmers market. And Judy certainly wanted to pass those good thoughts on to all the staff for their help in assisting John move forward with that project. Police contract. So, as many know, the contract negotiations with Bedminster PBA started feels like a very long time ago. It started this last go-round with Mayor Parker and I, and Committeeman Stevenson filled in to the Steve Parker role, and Doug and I continued negotiations and eventually mediation, and then participating in the arbitration with the Bedminster PBA. The arbitrator issued an award. The Bedminster PBA challenged that award to the PERC Commission, and the PERC Commission on, I guess that was Thursday afternoon, they had a meeting earlier in the day and issued its decision, and its decision was upholding the arbitrator's award. We'll go through that in a little bit more detail and figure out what our next steps are, but I did want to report back to everyone that's the status. These are certainly all public documents, so the discussion of this is really an open public session discussion, and hopefully this is the end of those negotiations and discussions, and we can move forward with the contract that is, we believe, certainly fair. It's not exactly everything that we had asked for, and certainly not everything that the PBA itself had asked for, but we are certainly looking forward to abiding by the terms of the arbitrator's award. Land Use Board. So as Committeeman Stevenson mentioned, Primrose had come into the HPC, and they are actually scheduled before the Land Use Board for an application on September 5th to put a daycare facility on Burnt Mills Road. Once again, that is between the former Burger King location and the Kiku location. So that will start its process. And also on that same day, I believe is scheduled an application for a bakery? A bakery, Judy? A bakery?
You know it.
A bakery? Up by where you live. On Lamington Road. So something that was the Carl Posey property, and that there's an application coming in to put a bakery in there. I'll be going before the Land Use Board also on September 5th. And the other item from the Land Use Board is that the Elite Properties application, which is being heard by the Zoning Board of Adjustment, that will continue on to September 12th. And since it is a Zoning Board of Adjustment matter, neither Committeeman Hickey nor I are allowed to participate, or frankly, under advice of both TC Council and Land Use Board Council, committee members are not supposed to express opinions, because that could actually jeopardize the application itself. So just a brief reminder about that. Shared court, we continue to have some discussions internally about breaking down numbers as we look at possible adjustments to the shared court operation. Mr. Stevenson and I will continue meeting with Ms. Sullivan as we do some number crunching before we reconvene back with the shared court committee from the other towns. Shared sewer, we've also been crunching some numbers and looking at how we can also improve the makeup contracting obligations with the sewer system. Those will be continuing as well. I did have a meeting I guess this was last week, with the Center for Contemporary Arts. They are heading into their 50th anniversary, and they've expressed a desire to work with the town in sort of integrating them a little bit more with the community, especially as they advance with what they're calling a very significant anniversary year for them. So I think we'll be having continued meetings with them. Some of it will be in context with fall, but I think they do want to do some additional events, not necessarily fundraisers, but really community participation, community involvement. So we'll have continued discussions and continue to update the Township Committee as we proceed that way. Farmers Market, every single Saturday, this guy is out there.
Waving the flag.
95 degrees. Parking cars, directing traffic. May's out there in the morning before she heads off to one of her other jobs. And, once again, Tim Walter all day, Jim Brady all day, Don McNabb, just once again, the volunteers that are really, pushing it forward and making this thing successful. And you hear it when people are out there and going, the parking is so nice. And you have parking attendants who are just nice and smiling and everything is great. So it's, once again, I know I've said it before, but I don't think we can say it enough. So thank you all for your participation in that. And that's what I have from monthly reports. Ms. Sullivan, we have the administrator's report.
Few things. So we accepted RFPs for the position of municipal prosecutor with our shared court. The deadline was last Friday. So we need to have a meeting to discuss or decide. I believe we might want to do an interview of some sort. But that's certainly up to all of you. We received 3 proposals. Prosecutor Winder, our current prosecutor, he is moving at the end of September. He has offered to assist, if requested, with the interview process, kind of convey, what the process is and help with that. So I thought that was a very nice offer. So.
And just to sort of remember that Miles Winder, not just is our former prosecutor, he was also a former judge in Burnsville. And before, actually during the same time, he was also the president of the New Jersey State Bar Association. So having Miles participate and offer to volunteer to sit on the interviews
I know everyone,
is
so I'd really like to participate.
Yeah, that's great. So I think we should certainly recommend to the shared court committee that we
And he said he'll
pick him up on
the
that offer.
transition and all that. If you noticed, maybe you didn't, but the EV charging stations being funded through a grant are under construction. They started this morning digging holes. There's a lot of caution tape around it right now. Tomorrow, with court being in session, we have a lot of traffic in the parking lot, so they are suspending construction tomorrow, but they'll be back on Wednesday, and they hope to complete it by the end of the week, but we'll see how the weather goes. As you know, we have some administration vacancies. Those positions have been posted internally at this point, and interviews were started last week, so we'll discuss that further in executive session. I received invitation from the Somerset County Clerk's Office. They are experimenting with a new program called the Mobile Office, and they started it in Franklin Township. They have a little flyer they're sending out, we can post, where they set up shop with over in Franklin Township I think they did it on a Saturday, and they accepted passport applications, did notary oaths, and took applications for veteran ID cards, and they served about 20 residents that normally wouldn't have had the time to go to the county offices for the various services that they provide during the day. So they called me, and they thought that our location here would be a good central location for the Somerset Hills for the same type of service, so they wanted to know if we were supportive. I said I'd see it tonight, and get back to them with a couple of dates that might be good. But I think it's a great idea for the Somerset Hills to have that offered.
No doubt.
So they would come, they staff it, they do it, we just have to, have the building available to them and kind of coordinate.
Do they need the building, or could they do this at the farmer's market where we're already getting some folks passing through?
I can offer that as an option. I think they need electricity and things.
Get your tomatoes and a notary.
All right.
And a passport.
And a vote by mail form.
I will certainly give them an option.
Right. And
Either or.
it's interesting because to vote by mail, frankly, for a lot of the folks whose kids are going off to college, it would have been nice to probably.
Yeah, they're saying they need a room and Wi-Fi. They'll bring laptop and camera equipment and whatever else is needed. So.
That we cannot offer at the farmer's market.
So that was one outreach. I also got a letter from Walter Lane down at the county planning board inviting members of the Township Committee or anyone from staff to participate in the chosen freeholders Somerset County Complete Count Committee. It's working towards the census for 2020 that's up and coming. And this committee they're going to be holding their first meeting on Thursday, September 19th at 8:30 a.m. And they're looking for cooperation and participation from all the towns of Somerset County to help. So I don't know if we want to have a designee, or if anyone is interested in helping out, let me know. I can pass this on to you. But they're looking for some assistance. And I think that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. We have no ordinances, and we do not have a consent agenda. We have one resolution for tonight. That's Resolution 2019-094. This resolution authorizes the mayor and clerk to renew Bedminster Township's membership in the Suburban Municipal Joint Insurance Fund for a period of 3 years. Ms. Sullivan.
So we have been a member of the Suburban Municipal Joint Insurance Fund well, since before I became administrator, I'm thinking maybe the early 2000s. We started with them. We have had great experience with them. We do receive a dividend every year with our participation that is applied to the next year's charges and premium. But I have to say, I'm one of the fund commissioners for the group. We meet monthly in Scotch Plains. Actually, all the administrators that participate in the fund, or designees, it's not always the administrator, take turns being the fund commissioner and being the chair of the group. We have a lot of good professionals that serve on that group, and I've had nothing but a fabulous, positive experience with this group. And we've had a lot of, we have a great risk manager through Meeker Sharkey, formerly Hurley. So I don't have any negative things to say. It's time for our 3-year renewal. It's a 3-year term that we have with them. Ours is up at the end of this year. So this would be renewing that Contract. I did pass out some information regarding the JIF with some of the savings that you can see that we've experienced, but we could delay it if you wanted to think about it and review it. It doesn't have to be necessarily adopted this evening, but I'm certainly supporting it and recommending it.
I'd like to give everyone the opportunity to look at the material, and there's no time pressure other than by the end of the year to have notified them of the intent to move forward with the 3-year period.
Yeah, so they're asking, not to be turning it into them December 31st, of course, but yeah, so there's no time crunch to do it now.
Right.
So
Is there another JIF option available to us?
there are many JIFs throughout the state. It's more by locality. Currently in our current JIF, Brennesville, Far Hills, Berners Township, Bedminster, Scotch Plains, Westfield, Arnie Township. I mean, it's a good complement of towns. We're always looking for new members. I think recently Peacock Gladstone submitted an application. I think they're being reviewed currently. It's just a good complement of large towns, small towns.
Right, and I think our claims experience with them, particularly so with litigation funding defense counsel, has been very positive. Our experience with them it's been pretty seamless going from coverage. So I'm not suggesting that we would not proceed with them, but I think that just give us a few
That's what I'm saying.
few weeks to go through the materials.
Look at some of the materials.
And as Mr. Stevenson indicated, if there's, what are the comparables to make sure that our participation is consistent with what we would be
I have to
getting
say,
or better than what we'd be getting with
This group
others.
is also currently very proactive as far as ransomware, IT issues. Connor Strong is, part of the managing group. And, I have to say they're really very proactive. So, but not to say that there aren't others out there that might be as good or better. I don't know. But
Okay, so since Mr. Stevenson is back from vacation and he asked the question, Mr. Stevenson, would you mind working with Judy and going through the materials and then,
Yes, no problem.
as
I'd be
we
more
will
than happy
do
to that.
independently, but then perhaps you could do a little bit deeper dive? than
Mayor,
this.
it would be my pleasure.
An honor.
You don't have to say that for real.
It would be my pleasure.
Okay.
And there was a strong dividend, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So that was a very...
Right. And just a reminder that for folks out there, that they handle all the liability insurance other than health insurance.
So the health, this is not the health insurance.
This is not
That's separate, still managed by the same company, but we're with the Central Jersey Health Insurance Fund. But yes, we do get a substantial dividend each year based on our experience, which has been really good. They manage their budget very well. But that's not to say that there aren't other groups as well. So.
Okay. So with that, we will table Resolution 2019-094, and if the reviews go well, we will put this on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay?
Mr. Stevenson's name.
With Mr. Stevenson's name attached to it.
See what happens when you raise your hand.
Yeah, that's why I never answered anything in school. Always got tasked with the extra homework
Did remind
assignment.
me.
Approval of the bill list. May we have a motion to approve the bill list pending review of individual invoices?
Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Second?
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski? Aye. Mayor Jacobs?
Aye. New business. So we do have two items on new business that have been carried over from prior meetings, and the first one is the amendment to the solicitation ordinance, and we have a subcommittee that is comprised of Committeewoman Santucci and Committeewoman Moreski, in parentheses. So I believe you guys have had some discussions.
Yes, we have. We started the process. We met actually tonight with Judy just to go over. She had reached out to the Hills to see which areas already had, no solicitation for those areas. Mr. Sardillo is going to work with us closely. Our next step really is to meet with Mr. Sardillo and the chief once again, because I know that he wants to come back and help us with this. But you looked at it initially, made some changes, some recommendations, so we're just going to meet with you briefly, if that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely, and we can discuss what input the associations had, whether we need to amend the ordinance any further, and provide a revised proposed ordinance to the committee.
Then we'll come back to the committee, we'll offer our recommendations, but there are going to be questions. So we don't expect that when we offer our recommendations that you're going to say, yep, that's fine, that's what we want. So we want some feedback, and then hopefully in September, we'll be able to go ahead and introduce.
Great. Okay.
Did I get everything? You got everything? Okay.
Okay, the next item for new business is the, called the zombie house potential ordinance, or the vacant property ordinance, and that committee is Mr. Stevenson and Ms. Mareski. I'm not sure, do I give you the opportunity to advance anything?
I can give you a little update of sort of where we are. Schedules are as they are. Ms. Mareski and I will actually be meeting tomorrow to go through the substance of what we have, but we've got various forms from other municipalities that implement this. And zombie house, fine, vacant, it's really an abandoned property statute, okay? It's designed as a tool that does not need to be used, but it should a township need it, you want it in your tool chest, okay? It's when a property's been abandoned by a homeowner, whether through a death, a divorce, one of a number of reasons, and now all of a sudden it's not being upkept, and it's affecting the values of the properties around it. There are different ways to get this done. I'm going to be collecting a couple, like I say, models, if you will, and we'll go through them, Ms. Mareski and I, and sort of report back to you what your options are. But the point of it, really, at the end of the day, is to make sure that homes in the municipality are being maintained such that they're not affecting values of adjacent homeowners. This is not government getting in people's lives and saying, I don't like your paint chipping off your house. That's not what this is about. This is about egregious properties that we all know exist. There are a handful in the municipality, and it just gives us an ability to compel upkeep, maintenance, and the like, and for the owner that truly is out to lunch or abandoned, or they don't know what the status of property is for various reasons, that would give us the ability as a municipality to do that, make the changes, mow the grass, abate a safety, health concern, and then assess that cost to the property itself. So similarly with the solicitation ordinance, the idea is to come up with sort of a panoply of different options and ways to get this done and present it back to you as a board the next meeting in September to further talk about it with hopes of introducing something that would make sense, in the next month or so. But we will have that ball officially started tomorrow.
Great, thank you. Which brings us to old business items, and we'll start with short-term rentals. Ms. Sullivan, are you aware of any further activity?
I have no updates on this at all.
Okay, and does any one of the committee members have any comments on any advancements or not on the issue of short-term rentals?
No, I didn't hear the result of the last court date on the last one we had. Maybe it was resolved, I'm not sure.
I don't know. Engine braking.
No updates on that one there.
I will say, when we were up in Maine, we saw multiple signs, no engine braking.
Mm-hmm.
And those were state authorized highways.
Right.
With those state authorized, well, I guess would be the main DOT sign,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting in comparison to the experience you had
When we went down
to
to DOT,
NJDOT, and they said,
They were in support of it.
no way, no way.
Get out of our
would we-
face.
Right.
Right.
Would we allow those types of,
Correct.
any signs,
Correct.
even in residential neighborhoods, because we still view engine braking as a safety issue, even though that may not necessarily be
Yeah.
the industry standard. And
Right.
just we were driving through Maine, and I saw that, I was like, I got to report back to Colin on that. So we'll.
have a union.
Could
What's
be.
that?
The moose.
Have a
It
union.
could be.
Right, right.
Plain Park. Judy, do you have an update?
So the only thing I have on this is I did receive a phone call from one of the residents asking specifically, did we know if the property was for sale? They had seen, heard rumors that there were potentially new owners looking at the property. I heard the same rumors, but I had nothing concrete or formal that I was aware of. Nothing had come to us as a municipality yet in writing.
And further indications of what's going on with the pending enforcement matters, as well as the matter that's going to the municipal court?
And I don't think it's actually gone to court yet.
No.
No, they're still in the discovery phase. Discovery phase is a lot shorter on, municipal criminal court than it is in civil court, but it's still in the discovery phase, and I'm not aware that a court date is set yet, but Miles has been keeping us in the loop, just haven't gotten any new updates yet.
Okay. In the meantime, it's still fair game for continued enforcement on items that are in disrepair and violation of code. So I presume that our zoning official and code enforcement official will continue to enforce as appropriate.
Yes.
Okay. GP&L.
We had a meeting with Carol Bianchi, our JCP&L rep, on August 7th with several representatives from the Hills Village North neighborhoods. We're happy to report that the outages in the area have been extremely limited since the upgrades and improvements that were performed earlier this summer. JCP&L provides some landscaping and clearance guidelines as we had requested. And they also continue to encourage residents to phone in or text in any outages they may experience to their reporting line, which is 1888, lights with an extra S. They reminded us, don't assume JCP&L already knows about it or that your neighbor has called in. Make sure to call in yourself. But the really big news is the work replacing the line over the 287 South entrance ramp is finishing up this week. As you may recall, that was a low-hanging line that was struck by trucks on several occasions, leading to numerous long power outages. The pole there has been repositioned to improve the clearance, and more importantly, these repairs will restore the ability to provide switching between the PPAC substation circuit and the Chambersbrook substation circuit in the event of an outage.
Can you explain that a little more slowly, please?
We'll talk about that too. Basically, you're eliminating a single point of failure. So, should they have an issue, they've now created redundancy so that they can switch from one circuit to the other circuit and avoid disruption to customers, primarily those in the hills.
Will they both filter through that one line that's being replaced or being improved?
I believe that's the case, but there's a switch now so that you can go from one to the other.
So if there's an upstream,
Yes.
if there's an upstream issue, if there's still an incident at that pole,
Right, but now
then it doesn't matter
Yeah,
if
but
the redundancy, because it's upstream redundancy.
I believe that's the
Okay.
case. But it should improve performance significantly. And like I said, since that pole has been moved, it should not, the wire there should not be struck by trucks going underneath anymore.
And that switch, no, I mean, this may be going.
Now we're going into
Okay.
network topology.
So in the switch, so for example, the PPAC line that comes in, which has often been identified as the source of the problems, right? So that's
Yes.
upstream from the 202, 206 ramp onto 287,
Yes.
right? So coming from all the way from PPAC up
Yeah.
206. So when there's a problem with that line, tree hits it, car hits a pole on 206.
Yes.
Is this an automatic switch?
I believe
that
that's an
it would
automatic
switch
rerouting.
to the Chambersbrook
Yes,
line coming down from, that's Lamington, right?
yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So, and that should be a significant improvement for the folks in the hills who are
Yes.
off the PPAC line.
Correct. And there's a significant number of them. And again, that was a single point of failure. They knew that was a vulnerability. So I think that is a big improvement that we've realized now.
Okay, and then, once again, thank you to everyone who's participating with your committee, Dawn March and all the Jeff Leonard and all the Jerry and all the other Jays. Because I think, getting in front of PSC, I'm sorry, GP&L, bringing them here, hearing the complaints, I mean, I certainly, look, we know that there's hierarchy, but a matter of getting, don't assume that they know, right? Just as don't assume just because that there's an outage that they know about it, just
Right.
because that there's a systemic problem here, don't think that JCP&L knows and is going to deal with it. They'll
Right.
deal with it in their own time, but working with the town, they're able to hopefully elevate that, and hopefully this really does affect some real improvements. But that's not all. There was going to be more from JCP&L. You said you had an average?
No, that we're teasing.
Okay,
I lost my power last night. So what did I do? I emailed Colin. I'm like, I did, but somebody was asleep already. But no, I texted them, and actually I got a thing back. There was a problem with my text, so I ended up having to call the old-fashioned way, and it was up in an hour.
Oh, okay.
But so that's good. So, but I did feel the pain of everybody who's coming here, you know,
Right.
to the room, and it's a good lesson because, you know, one day it can be you.
That's correct.
That's right. Yeah.
So I asked the question though to the person who answered the phone, is it Chambers Brook substation? And the poor lady on the phone, it's inclement weather. No, I know that, but is it Chambers Brook? And, you know, it's.
Flip the switch.
It's,
Right,
yeah.
right,
So
right.
I knew a little bit too much for that.
You could have asked about the repeaters and...
Right.
Reclosers and the whole 9 yards?
Yeah, but it was fine. It worked out. All worked out well.
Good. Public comments. Second opportunity for public comments. Mr. Haggerty.
Brian Haggerty, still Fairview Drive, Bedminster. I'll try to stay in a total of 3 minutes, so I used a minute and a half before. Two things came up in this, question for Mr. Hickey. When you went to the meeting with the school superintendent of the Somerset School District, was by any chance the Bedminster School District included in that discussion?
The superintendent from Somerset Hills was there, but no, not the superintendent from Bedminster School.
Interested. Okay.
I don't know if there was an invite, if, again, since we had short notice, I don't know.
I have other sources to explore that. Okay, thank you. The zombie property, it comes to my attention that just like Maine has breaking rules that New Jersey doesn't care about, New Jersey, to my knowledge, doesn't have I'm not going to care about cutting the bushes, Doug, but New Jersey does not have specific rules on how to enclose or make safe or mothball a vacant building. But New York City does. If you have a commercial building or a house in New York City, there are mandatory rules that you either have to wrap it up and notify the city you've wrapped it up and have an actual building inspection that it's been made safe, or you have to tear it down. You have to, and they have fines. So I don't know how amenable New Jersey is to let a municipality in New Jersey go a little rogue, but there are New York City rules that I might just be able to track down for you, as long as I don't do it between 8 and 4.
Oh, no, I mean, look, I welcome all the information we can get as we, craft our own. Should we elect to go that route, I would just simply say that under the current law, there are rules out there once you get into a foreclosure context. So a residential foreclosure, if you're a traditional lender, you have to register with the clerk of the municipality, and then by doing that, the law now that changed with the 2008 crisis, the law that was created in New Jersey permits the municipality to actually saddle the lender with the costs of rehabbing. So what we're finding is that lenders aren't being so quick to put properties into foreclosure. So they're trying to work it out on the side. Meanwhile, you still have a borrower that's decided to cut bait on the property, so you've got yourself an abandoned property for all intents and purposes. Commercial-wise, foreclosures usually get taken care of by way of a receiver. But you're right. I mean, it does seem to be a bit of wild west, but...
It's actually a physical guideline of what it means to make a building safe, to enclose a building. And probably the chief would be interested too, because, how long does it take before a vacant zombie property becomes a squatter haven or an attractive nuisance to teenagers?
Right.
And you have a whole host of other problems. So from that point of view, I might have occasionally tracked down the city law sometimes.
That'd be great.
Weeks and I just forward the link.
If you send it over to me, I'd be more than happy to take a look at it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Good information. Township Committee comments, and just a reminder, we do have an executive session, and we may be returning from executive session to take action on a resolution. But with that, let's start with committee comments. Mr. Stevenson.
I have no comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, no comments. Thank you.
No comments tonight, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Just one, Mayor. I was looking at the bill list very carefully this time, because I had a few extra minutes, and I started looking at the charges for the camps, and my head started to spiral out of control. So I have an enormous amount of gratitude and support for Robin Ray, who puts together those camps as if she just does it in her sleep. I don't know how she does it, and we are so lucky to have her, and our camp kids are so lucky to have her here.
Great. Thank you. They're great comments. And I have no comments. Once again, we will take a motion to move to executive session. And when we return, we may be taking action on a pending resolution. A motion to adjourn to executive session.
I will make that motion.
Second?
Okay.
Stacy made it, seconded.
So all in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay.
I'm sorry. I thought we already did
It's
that.
like, wait for it, wait for it.
Okay, we're back on.
We are back on. It is 10:06, and we are back from executive session. We do have a resolution to consider, which is Resolution 2019-095. This is a resolution designating a candidate for the position of training in anticipation of becoming our temporary qualified purchasing agent. The resolution would authorize an employee to attend QPA classes. Once again, with the expectation that once there's some tests that are passed, that the position would lead to taking over as the temporary qualified purchasing agent, with the long-term expectation that someone will eventually receive their QPA license and be qualified to be the qualified purchasing agent long-term. That's since this is a 2-year class, this is 2 years down the road, but this is the first step, which is sending an employee to the QPA classes. We've had some discussion back in executive session, so the resolution was tweaked by Mr. Sardillo, so I'm going to ask Mr. Sardillo to read the resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas NJSA 40A11-9G provides that in the event of a vacancy in the position of qualified purchasing agent, the governing body may appoint a person who does not possess a qualified purchasing agent certificate to serve as the temporary purchasing agent for 1 year, commencing from the date of the vacancy, and that person may be reappointed as a temporary purchasing agent for 1 additional year following the end of the first temporary appointment. And whereas the position of qualified purchasing agent is vacant due to the resignation of Trina Lindsay as of July 19th, 2019. And whereas by Resolution 2019-92, Judy Sullivan, Clerk Administrator, has been appointed temporary purchasing agent for a 1-year term beginning on July 19th, 2019. And whereas due to the vacancy, it is necessary to designate a candidate to attend the required courses for qualified purchasing agent certification. And whereas the human resource consultant received 5 applications and held interviews of those qualified to fill this vacancy, working with the administrator and CFO. And whereas the human resource consultant, the township administrator, and CFO have recommended that the following candidate be authorized as the top candidate to attend the required courses for the CPA certification, which is Sarah Hausman of Phillipsburg, New Jersey. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Sarah Hausman be appointed as the candidate to attend the required QPA public purchasing courses, working 20 hours per week in the position with an hourly rate of $25 effective August 20, 2019. Be further resolved that the position of administrative assistant, which is currently filled by Sarah Hausman, shall be reduced to a 20-hour per week position at an hourly rate of $18, and that Sarah Hausman shall continue her appointment in the amended position of administrative assistant. Be it further resolved that Judy A. Sullivan, Clerk Administrator, shall continue to be the Township's appointed temporary purchasing agent until Sarah Hausman has successfully completed the first of the required courses, at which time the Township intends on appointing Ms. Hausman as the temporary purchasing agent, to be accomplished by separate resolution to be adopted by the Township Committee at such time. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall modify and replace any prior appointments for the position of Administrative Assistant for 2019, effective August 20, 2019. Be it further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be provided to the benefits coordinator, administrator, and payroll clerk.
Thank you. Well said. Any questions or comments regarding the resolution or the terms that Mr. Sardillo just read? Seeing none, may we have a motion to approve Resolution 2019-095?
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Mayor Jacob?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Joe, for helping us through that.
Not a problem.
That is the end of the meeting, and we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
See you.
I lost the bet.
It was a rough one. When they turn on the video, they see Joe in his jacket, looking back after his jacket. He's got like a thing down the tie to the side, coming.
The hair's all.
Yeah.